welcome to another episode of Cemeteries Down Under. Now today we're at the tiny little cemetery of Rouse Hill. This has been requested by one of our subscribers, Mystic Angels. So hello, thank you for subscribing, and we're doing this one just for you. Now it's a tiny little cemetery and Rouse Hill's got a lot of history, so let me tell you about it before I show you some of the graves. So in 1888, the thriving village of Rouse Hill consisted of quite a few homesteads, a roadside post office known as Vinegar Hill Post Office, several taverns, a police station, public school, a church and a cemetery. Along with Christ Church at the corner of Windsor and Mile End roads, this cemetery is one of the few elements to survive from that time. Established in 1874, the layout of the cemetery with its circular driveway and graves arranged on both sides is considered to be unusual for the time. The land on which it stands on was originally granted to Thomas Clower and was later acquired by Robert Fitzgerald, who married Elizabeth Henrietta Rouse, the youngest child of Richard Rouse. Robert donated the land to the United Church of England and Ireland, a foretunnel of today's Anglican Church. Before the establishment of this cemetery, the colonials would bury their dead at Parramatta or Windsor, and before that the early settlers buried family members in a secluded corners of their property, like the example of nearby William Harvey Reserve. The cemetery is the final resting place of a number of the district's pioneers and their descendants, arranged in family plots. So the early history of Rouse Hill and Box Hill is bound up with that of two families, the Rouses and the Terrys. Richard Rouse, arriving here in the colony in 1801, was appointed Director of Government Buildings in Parramatta. Rouse Hill was formerly known as Vinegar Hill, but this name had tragic associations after the Battle of Vinegar Hill, the convict uprising in 1804, and so upon the suggestion of Governor Macquarie, Richard Rouse renamed his property Rouse Hill in 1816. Rouse House was built by Richard Rouse using convict labour. The building was commenced in 1813 and completed in 1820, the stone being quarried at Parramatta. Rouse was granted 1,500 acres of land on which a few sheep and cattle grazed, very little of this being cleared for production. He also held land for grazing beyond the Blue Mountains. Samuel Terry arrived here as a convict in 1801 and became the richest man in New South Wales, dying in 1838. He acquired much land, about 1,700 acres at Box Hill, granted in 1816 to Robert Fitz, conveyed to Samuel Terry in 1819. When Fitz was in financial difficulties, Terry became a neighbour of the Rouses, Richard Rouse having supervised Sam's labours at a convict. So Samuel's son John married Eleanor Rouse, one of Richard's daughters, in 1831. They lived in the homestead at Box Hill, now called McCall Garden Colony, and John accidentally was killed in 1842 falling from his horse. He was only aged 35. The Box Hill estate passed on to Samuel Henry Terry, one of John's sons. So we've got the tombstone here of Michael Allen Kinch, and he was born in 1941 and died in 2013. So he must have been one of the last ancestors for the settlers in this little cemetery. So his tombstone reads, "Belief in God defined him, respected he lived as he believed, a good man, husband, father, grandfather." And he was known as Gramps, or did. So here's the Roomery family plot. Got Richard Roomery, Eleanor, Alfred and Marianne. They would have been the original parishioners of the church back then. There wasn't much said about their deaths. I looked through Trove and different history sites, and I couldn't find much about them other than they were part of the church. And here are their children. Now, Ada only died at 3, Ernest 23, Percy 22, and Harold 17. So you got here Cecil Stranger, beloved son of George and Harriet Stranger. Died the 3rd of July 1919, only aged 28. Also Harriet died July 9, 1924, aged 70. And George Stranger, 94, and he died in 1943. Now, I know the Stranger family were part of the church, and they were also good friends of the Rouses. And Clive and Mabel here must have been ascendants of the Stranger family. So this grave's no longer legible, which is really sad. Now, the Historical Society has done some upkeep in this cemetery, but there's more to do. And this is very much enclosed in a residential area now, so I do apologise for all the noise that's around us. That's one of the reasons why I put music in the videos, because I try and drown out outside noise. This one's just legible. I'll come up and read it. We've got Jane Peddle, born May the 29th, 1844. Died, looks like January 9th, 1923. And it just says, our mother. So this beautiful tombstone is in loving memory of my dear husband and our dear father, John McNeil Agnew. Died the 8th of May 1916, aged 56. Always remembered, erected by his loving wife and children. And I really like the little artwork up the top where you've got the Bible in with the roses, and it says, "Thy will be done." This is George and Mary Whitling. Sorry, the tombstone's just readable. Who died 17th of August 1912, aged 65, and his wife Mary, who died the 12th of August 1916. George and Mary were very much part of the church. I remember reading in Trove that he was the treasurer and secretary. So he was an important member of the community, and they later on moved to Castle Hill area, but they were very much loved here in the Rouse Hill community. And Sherwood here, born November 26, 1875, and he was only a toddler, aged 15 months. There's a little poem underneath it, but I can no longer read it. And then you've got William here, another Sherwood, and he looks like he was only a young boy too, 1900. Albert Crouchley here, and he died March 12th, it looks like 1879, and he was only 5. So here you've got the Brown family. Now the Browns, I believe, were part of the Terry family, just like married in. So you've got James Brown, died 17th of Feb 1938, aged 84 it looks like. Also infant son Oswald, died 26th of July 1881. Eleanor Maria Brown died the 20th of September 1943, and she was 81. Looks like that was the original tombstone, and the family's put a new one down. So you got David Brown, Catherine Brown, and on the other tombstone there you got Cecil Brown. So you got Alice Brown, age 65, and Edgar Brown, Stanley Brown. It's just readable, guys, so I can't really see the dates. So you got here part of the Terry family, the original families here. And you got Jeffrey Rouse Terry, born 6th of October 1896, and he died the 3rd of May 1970. And his wife, Gwendolyn Julie Terry, died 17th of February 1971, aged 80. So they're the descendants, or the grandchildren, I'd say, of the original Terrys. So you got the Pierce family here. Eva, who departed this life, only 2 in 1889. Robert in 1914, 78. And Euphemia, that's such a beautiful name. And she died in 1922. And Effie, 1938. And then finally John in 1947. So you've got William Sherwood and Elizabeth Betsy Sherwood, 1850 to 1937. Looks like William departed in 1916, and he's got quite a few children there. You've got Alexander, Emma, William, Francis, May, Sydney, Edwin, Emily, Harold and Elizabeth. When I was here doing a paranormal check last time for my husband's channel, if you don't know it, it's Jason Ghost Hunter. We do a lot of locations as well as cemeteries, so if you're into the paranormal, I suggest you check it out. I had my ghost box say strangled. Now, it was either this grave or that one, and I can't work out which one it came from, but it was a really weird thing to come through the ghost box. So I tried to find if any of the females in this grave had been strangled. I could not, but if anyone can find any source or history about this story, let me know in the comments. So this is Frederica Josephine Leeville, or just Lee. 9th of April, and I can just see it's 1800 and something, and she was only 20. So I wonder if she was the one that said she was strangled. It'd be interesting to know more about the people here and how they died. Here we've got Thomas Flint, died 17th of November 1912, aged 43, and also a son, Thomas Jr., who died 27th of August 1902, only 7 days old. Next to here we've got William Firth, who died December 26, 1906, age 39. A Thomas Firth, who died, I'll have to get closer because it's the rock, November 17th, 1912, age 44. And Clara, daughter of Harry, and Rachel, died September the 12th, 1887, 14 months. I know in 1890, here in Rouse Hill, there was a great flood in Windsor. It was so bad that the water came all the way up here with the bridge overflowing at the Windsor River, and there was a lot of deaths. A lot of people were cut off from supplies like food and things like that. They had to rely on boats. You wouldn't think so now, but a lot of this was underwater. So you got Arthur Wells, Ernest Wells, and he died 4 months old. Arthur died at 73, and Gertrude Wells. I'm pretty sure Gertrude was the daughter of Arthur, and they were part of the church as well. So here you got Henry Roberts, died the 26th of August 1882, aged 27, and the poem on it is, "Thou art gone to the grave, but we will not deplore thee, whose God was their reason and guardian." It's very hard to read. I'd say you can see they've been cleaning some of the tombstones, but the weather has just got into them and they're so hard to read. So you've got Gertrude May Skinner, who passed away the 20th of June 1945, aged 58, and our dear father Henry Skinner, who passed away the 21st of January 1950, age 74. Nearer my God to thee. We've got William Rose, died April 7th, 1886, died 73 years old. So it would have been a pretty little cemetery once. Now it's kind of half forgotten, just surrounded by houses. So here we've got another interesting stone to the memory of William Dargan, aged 70 years, whose remains were found and buried here 19th of March 1875. And also Thomas Needham died, you can just see it, 1875, aged, looks like 67 years. So we're going to talk a bit about the Battle of Vinegar Hill, because it's part of Australia's history. In 1798 there was a bloody rebellion against British rule in Ireland. Major battles were fought, one of the most infamous being Battle of Vinegar Hill in country Wexford, where rebels were crushed by British forces. Many Irish men and women were sentenced to transportation to Australia for their role in the uprising. Now in Australia they remained desperate to fight against British injustice, return home and continue to support the Irish cause. Because of this, unrest in penal settlements was rife. Between 1800 and 1804, many small rallies and uprisings were planned in the Sydney region, but were thwarted before they began. So those who chose to fight a second time in search of their own liberty wore the words liberty and equality on their hat bands as they had their countrymen in Ireland. The spirit and words became the catch cry of the better-known skirmish fought by the rebelling miners at the Eureka Stockade in Victoria some 15 years later. The pioneering spirit and determination to achieve something better for themselves and their families is marked by the erection of a permanent memorial to the Battle of Vinegar Hill. It is dedicated to all the people who strove to win in a harsh land, whatever their nationality and their social position. The Hill Rebellion of 1804 was Australia's first uprising. The rebellion was an attempt by a group of Irish convicts to overthrow British rule in New South Wales and return to Ireland where they could continue to fight for an Irish republic. Ending in disaster, the ill-fated rebellion resulted in the death of at least 39 convicts in both Australia's Battle of Vinegar Hill itself and ensuing martial law punishments. So the convicts had planned to march on to Parramatta and Sydney, stealing weapons from small farms as they went, and encouraging any convicts working at the farms to join them. The alarm was raised and troops from Sydney quickly marched to Parramatta, then headed in pursuit of the convicts, who had turned around and headed for Windsor. By the time the troops caught up with the convicts on the hills, on Windsor Road, there was about 200 convicts involved. Now, this Battle of Vinegar Hill is the first major uprising in Australia, and it's a big part of our history. Hi, I hope you enjoyed this little video. It's only a tiny cemetery, and thank you to Mystic Angels for suggesting we come here. It's a lot of history in Rouse Hill. The tree's falling on me. Now, before I go, I want to say hello to Bud Files, Unearthly Wanderings and Ghostly Findings Paranormal. They're all cemetery channels, but they love the paranormal as well. So if you like a bit of paranormal with your history, go and check them out. great channels. We follow them ourselves. We also have my beautiful husband Jason. He does Jason Ghost Hunter. So that's our paranormal channel. We do haunted locations, abandoned places, and cemeteries. This is basically just history. Now, we're not having music in this video. We've got a bit of feedback saying please cut the music, which is fine. We're here to make you guys happy. So let us know in the comments if you prefer it without the music, or if you don't mind a bit of music, because I find it's cutting out all the background noise, especially when you're near a main home, or, you know, we're surrounded by homes here and you've got people using chainsaws and traffic and everything else. And unless we're in the country where there's beautiful noises or beach or something like that, I find it a bit annoying. So that's why I put the music in there. Also, if you liked the way we just walked around and read the headstones, if you prefer that, let us know in the comments below too, because we love your feedback. We take it on and we want to make sure that you guys keep watching us. So please, any more suggestions, put them in the comments. Catch up.
Talk soon, guys.